So last week, I watched the worst rated movie on IMDb, and I'm finally sitting down to watch the best rated movie on IMDb. And it's also the first time I've ever seen it. So, I watched The Shawshank Redemption for the first time, and I want to talk about it with you guys. Shawshank Redemption is a movie that I sadly admit that I've never seen up until the making of this video. 25 years without seeing this masterpiece of a movie, and there's a reason why it's heralded as a masterpiece, because it truly is. And we're going to touch upon some of the elements that I really loved about this movie and my impressions as I watched this movie for the first time. That not only is a classic, but it's the #1 highest rated movie on IMDb, with good reason. Now, this movie really is layered with great performances, great dramatic structure, and incredibly engaging and interesting pacing of plot and story elements. And that's what I loved about this movie, is that even though this movie sits at 2.5 hours, I never felt like I was actually watching it for 2.5 hours. Like, it felt like everything was going by so fast in a way. You were getting all this information, but the pacing works so evenly and so well. It blends in together these new, fresh ideas about what the prison life could be like. I mean, this is a very scary scenario. It's also a movie that really kind of answers, the redemptive arc, but it kind of does so in a way that flips it a little bit on its head, because these characters never try to make themselves out like they are truly innocent. You know that these characters have done bad things, but that doesn't define who they are now. And that's the thing. These characters admit that they have problems, even those that are innocent, per se. These characters, even though that they are in this situation, and some are serving life in prison or even 2 life sentences in prison, these characters are able to admit and basically understand the variety of their situation and basically how they got to this point in time. Even if they truly didn't do the crime, they still feel like they did based on certain elements that happened in the past. And Tim Robbins and Morgan Freeman are incredible. They highlight an incredible cast by giving 2 astounding performances in this movie. And particularly Morgan Freeman as Red. I mean, that was a haunting performance. It was so good. And what I mean by haunting is that it wasn't scary, it wasn't intense, but he has this presence on screen of this man who's been beaten, who's been worn down. And even though he does commit atrocities, and he admits to committing those atrocities, again, like I said prior, they don't define who he is. And you could really understand that this character is really built on building relationships with other people and trying to find the good and the commonality within individuals in the prison. And so I found that to be very, very interesting. William Sadler's in this movie. I love him because he plays Death in the Bill and Ted movie, so it's great to see him in a role like this. Clancy Brown is really good in this movie as a scary and horrible prison guard who does atrocities and really treats the inmates like complete trash, like not human. This is a movie that is so complex because it's told from a standpoint of the inmates, and specifically the inmate of Red, played by Morgan Freeman. And Tim Robbins' character is the lead in this movie. So basically you're seeing the eyes of the events happening through the lens of Morgan Freeman, kind of a bystander. So a lot of the things that happen with Tim Robbins' character in this movie, you don't know them unless Morgan Freeman highlights them for you. And I thought that that was really well done, because #1, Morgan Freeman is the narrator and he has a godlike voice. That's why he played God in Bruce Almighty. #2, it makes a lot of sense because he was the closest person to Tim Robbins' character in the film. They were really good friends. They play off each other's strengths extremely well, and they have some really meaningful and deep conversations with one another where they're able to understand each other better than other inmates would at that time. The movie took turns that I didn't really expect it to take. I felt like the movie was going to go the traditional route, right? Where the bad guys win, essentially, and the characters that you've cared about and that you love, they're going to get beaten down, maybe even killed. But that's not what happens in this movie. The movie really surprised me because it did everything that I wanted as an audience member to do. I wanted them to go the routes that they did. I wanted them to get justice, and they were able to do that. And some of the characters, the way that they react towards certain things are very interesting to me. This is a movie that reminds me a lot of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I don't know why. There's so many similarities between certain characters in this movie and the characters in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Something weird about it. Like I think of this movie and I know that they're two completely different things, even though they're very similar. And it's almost like looking at the psychosis of a human being, right? Like both those movies kind of deal with that. And they're both in a way redemptive, I guess. Like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is not as redemptive as obviously The Shawshank Redemption, but still there's something about it that like those movies I feel like could literally come from the same director and could literally have been vaulted in time at the exact same time and have come out at the exact same time, and I would not have been able to tell the difference really. This is based off of a short story by Stephen King. This just shows that Stephen King can do no harm. I mean, anything that guy does is gold. He can make stories like this that aren't horror based, but yet you still feel the intent of these characters. You still feel tension in moments because of the drama and the suspense of what's going on inside of the cells. And I really found myself to be just absolutely captivated with the story, with the movement of the story. The pacing is extremely well done. I never really found myself bored by this movie at all. Like every conversation is intricate. Every single conversation is personal and intimate, and you feel that. And I love that. Like, this movie is a masterpiece. It's heralded as a masterpiece for a reason. I can't sit here and say that this is one of my favorite movies of all time. I've only seen it the one time, but let me just say this. This is a movie that I will definitely go back and view very soon because I still have a lot of questions about certain things. There's a lot of stuff that's placed on screen that you're like, what is this reference to? Like, for example, Red, he gets a harmonica. And I kind of thought that, okay, maybe it was just like a present, but now I'm thinking that there's more deep meaning to it based on the character of Red and what happens at the end of the movie where he becomes a free man and how that harmonica in a way kind of symbolizes that freedom. It foreshadows that freedom. It's very weird. There's a lot of elemental things in this movie that are placed on screen that are there for a reason and for a specific purpose. And I found that to be also really fun because I love movies that do that, where certain things are placed in a way so that way those who are really kind of looking at all the intricate details can go back and try to find those little things. And so there's a lot of hints in this movie, a lot of foreshadowing of what actually happens with these characters. If you look through the film, it's very layered, and I just absolutely love this movie. This is a great film. I cannot wait to go back and revisit it, and I'm definitely gonna have it on Blu-ray behind me in this shelf. Anyway, guys, those are my thoughts on The Shawshank Redemption. 25 years, I hadn't seen the movie, and the only clip I remembered was the rain clip because that's the most memorable clip from this movie. And other than that, I knew nothing. I knew nothing about this movie, and I'm happy that I did because, wow, what an experience. I've done it. I watched the highest rated movie on IMDb. Anyway, guys, what are your thoughts on The Shawshank Redemption? Let me know down below in the comment section of this video. Also, make sure that if you enjoyed the video, you hit that like button, hit that thumbs up, go show some love, go show some support. Also, if you're brand new, consider subscribing to the channel for more content just like this. Please subscribe. Like, we need to continue building this community. I want to be able to continue to make videos like this that really push the boundaries of the movie YouTube space as I try to do some original content and things that you won't see on other people's channels. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. And as always, I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.